Your sister knows how to handle her business. You? Not so much, my father, Malcolm Price announced, toasting his Cabernet toward my younger sister. Jade don't need nobody. I sat at the long walnut table in our family's Cascade Heights home in Atlanta, hands steady on my knife as I cut into lemon pepper chicken. Candlelight winked over the crystal and landed on Jade's smile. Cool, polished, camera ready. She wore a silk jumpsuit the color of smoke and enough gold to ring softly when she moved. Everything about her said effortless, enviable, enough. Jade climbed. Daddy went on, proud rolling through his voice like Sunday organ. Promotions, leadership, respect. Unlike your coding hobbies. He waved a dismissive hand at me. 2 years of these dinners had taught me to keep my face quiet. I sipped water, let the heat in my chest flicker and fade. Jade tilted her chin, lashes low. Thank you, Daddy. I worked hard to get where I am. Feels good to stand on my own. Stand on her own. The same woman who'd been in my messages last week sobbing about late fees. Great, I said, setting down my fork. Then she won't need my monthly transfers anymore. Air thinned. Jade's smile snapped. Daddy stilled, wine glass hovering. What did you say, Naomi? He asks low. That Jade won't need the money I've been sending. Since she's so independent. Please like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. Jade went slack, mouth opening, closing, a beautiful fish dragged into air. She and Daddy had spent 2 years building a shrine out of her job title. I'd watched them light it with compliments and incense. My own work burned down to ash with a shrug. Naomi, Jade whispered, voice shrinking. We said we'd keep that private. Keep what private? Daddy demanded. The smooth mahogany room went tight, walls inching inward. I kept my tone calm because won battles don't require shouting. $3,300. Every month. For 2 years. Rent, car, credit cards, clothes. That self-sufficient life? Funded. Daddy blinked hard, color shifting in his face. Confusion to disbelief to something that looked like hurt. That can't be right. She's a manager. She makes good money. She's an assistant floor manager at a boutique in Buckhead. I said, even, not cruel. About $48,000 a year. Respectable, yes. But not enough for the image. Stop, Jade begged, mascara threatening. Naomi, please. I didn't look at her. Her rent is $2,600. Car note $650. Utilities minimums, dinners for the brand. She's short about $3,300 each month. I bridged it. Daddy turned to Jade, voice gravel. Is this true? Jade's lips trembled. I was going to pay her back. I just needed time to get established. In what? Daddy asked. You told me you were district director. Jade stared at the candle flame. I supervised 3 people. The room let out a long, miserable breath. For 2 years, Jade had spun promotions from thin air and draped them over holidays like tinsel. Daddy wore the shine proudly, repeating it to neighbors, to aunties at cookouts, to anyone who'd listen. It was a family story now. Jade the comet, me the shadow. So while I bragged, Daddy said, voice climbing, you took your sister's money and dressed it up as success? It wasn't charity, Jade said, thin as thread. It was a loan. A loan with no terms, no interest, no deadline. I cut in. A loan you didn't mention while Dad roasted me for not having a real job. Daddy pivoted toward me, something new and unsteady in his eyes. How much do you actually make with your business? I hadn't planned on this. But truth was heavy in me, begging for air. Last year my company grossed $910,000. After expenses and taxes, I netted around $420. His wine glass kissed the plate and shattered, a high-pitched cry. He didn't even flinch, just stared like he was seeing a ghost unbutton into his daughter. 900 and Naomi. Gross, I repeated, steady. Net around 420. Jade hiccuped on a breath, panic turning sharp. You can't cut me off now. My rent is due in 4 days. My insurance, I opened my banking app. I'm canceling the auto transfer. Don't, Jade whispered.
Tap. Tap. Gone.
Done, I said softly. No more. Daddy leaned back as if the chair had become a cliff. You make more in a year than I brought home from teaching in 5, he said, almost to himself. And I sat here, week after week, lecturing you like I knew something you didn't. You never asked, I told him. You assumed my hoodie and home office meant failure. Jade's blazer meant success. Jade shot to her feet, chair legs scraping. Dad, you have to make her keep helping me. I'll lose my apartment. Sit down, Daddy snapped. The word cracked through the room like a belt in the air. Jade sank, eyes blown wide. You lied to me, he said to her. You told me about bonuses, travel stipends, leadership retreats. I was managing the narrative, Jade whispered. That's a fancy way to say lying, he said, disgust simmering. Jade turned to me, palms open, voice breaking. I didn't mean to hurt you, Nay. He looks at me like I'm somebody when I talk about work. I needed that. I needed him to be proud. You needed me to bankroll it, I replied. The anger in me was cool, a river that had found its lane. While he used me as a sermon illustration, Daddy pinched the bridge of his nose. Naomi, he said, slower, careful, as if he could break me by touching. What do you sell? Glow and grit, I said. Skin care and hair tools formulated for melanin-rich skin and textured hair. Satin-lined hoodies, heat-safe combs, sunscreens that don't make us gray. We sell through our site, a few marketplaces, and wholesale to salons. Silence rearranged itself. Daddy, who had never listened before the end of a sentence, leaned forward and didn't interrupt. I started 4 years ago. I continued. I saw my girls mixing 3 products to get 1 result and paying luxury prices for the privilege. I found manufacturers who do private label for premium brands. We built our own formulas with black chemists. Quality on par with top shelf, price at 60%. People buy that online? Daddy asked, head tilted. Innocence in the question that would have made me smile if my heart wasn't shaking loose. Dad, our people live online, I said. We review, we share, we DM links at midnight. I speak directly to the pain points, hyperpigmentation, humidity, protective styles. I don't sell a fantasy. I sell relief. Jade stared at her phone, thumb flicking frantic calculations. My credit card minimums are $1,500, she blurted. Without you, I can't even cover those. Maybe don't spend what you don't have, I said, not unkind, just plain. Daddy whispered, like the confession heard on the way out. I told Aunt by last month that you need a real job like your sister. Bet she cackled. I said, a small humor cracking the ice.
She did.
20 minutes straight. The worst part, Daddy said, voice gone sandpaper, is not the money. It's all the times I stood in somebody's driveway telling them my big girl was a mess and my little girl had her life together. How many times I used Jade as a stick to beat you with? Jade flinched. For once I didn't reach across and soften it. Naomi, Daddy said, what does a day in your life look like? Not the highlight reel. The work. My office is in my apartment, I said. I don't ship from there. We use a 3PL in College Park. I handle inventory planning, contracts, marketing, customer service templates, financials. I write the copy. I answer the hard emails. I troubleshoot supply chain when a carrier misroutes a pallet to Nebraska. And your volume? He asked, trying on the language, clumsy but sincere. Average order value is about 180. I do around 1,500 orders a month across channels. Gross margins about 40% before marketing and overhead. Daddy's eyes flickered as he did the math. 1,500 orders times 180, 270,000 a month. His voice faded. Peak year, yeah, I said. Last year was lower, but steady, profitable. Jade's stare sharpened, desperation flaring. What am I supposed to tell people? They think I'm successful. Try the truth, Daddy said, raw. That you built your life out of lies and your sister's generosity. Jade turned to stone, then cracked. Tears leaked through the seams. I need to call Aunt Vi, Daddy muttered, half standing. Last week I told her traditional work is more stable than whatever Naomi does. She always knew you were underestimating me, I said. She said I was arrogant, he admitted. Said I couldn't recognize success unless it wore a suit. He sat back down, hands trembling, and for a second I saw him as a man, not a myth, just a father whose pride had been built on bad scaffolding. Jade opened her laptop, keys clacking frantic. Look, she said, angling the screen. Studio in West End, $1,500 a month, 600 square feet. No washer-dryer. Welcome to living inside the lines, I said softly. Daddy cut me a look, warning, maybe. I swallowed the extra sentence. I pictured you in pajamas scrolling Instagram, baby, he said, cheeks going crimson with shame. Not an operation. That's because any time I tried to tell you, you cleared your throat and told me to apply at the county. I said no heat. Just a ledger settling. I thought I was helping, he said. I wanted you to be more like Jade. You mean more like someone who lies about her title, lives on borrowed money, and lets me be the family punching bag? Jade flinched again. I wasn't trying to hurt you. Daddy loved the story. I got caught in it.
So did I.
Daddy's gaze went to the window, to the evening sky bleeding pink into blue. I owe you an apology, Naomi. His voice quieted. A real one. Not a text. Not a plate of food. It's not about sorry, I said. It's about the math you've been using to define success. A nameplate on a glass door impressed you more than an actual P&L. That's on you. He nodded, slow, the stubborn leaving his shoulders like a sigh. So what now? Now Jade learns how to live on what she makes, I said. And you stop confusing costumes for character. Daddy glanced toward the broken glass, then back to me. And the money she owes you? I'd rolled that question on my tongue at 3 a.m. many nights. It tasted the same now. Bittersweet, necessary. Consider it tuition, I said. I'm not chasing repayment, but the bank closes. Jade's head snapped up, hope in her eyes like a child at a door. So, you're not mad about the money? I'm mad about the theater, I said. The part where I sat quiet while Daddy used me as a cautionary tale, and you let him because it made you glow. The dollars were my choice. The lie wasn't. Silence pooled again. Somewhere, a dog barked twice, as if to mark the moment. 3 weeks later, the first of the month ache didn't arrive. No outgoing 3,300. The space it left felt like air after a held breath. I slid it straight into expansion. EU compliance testing, translated packaging, a slice of ad spend for London and Berlin. Glow and grit went international. My dashboards answered like a choir. Jade moved into a one-bedroom 15 minutes from the boutique. Beige walls, laminate counters, thin carpet that crushed flat underfoot. She sold a stack of handbags and a bracelet set to make the credit card minimums. She picked up extra shifts, dark circles bruising her eyes on FaceTime. Daddy called me every few days like a man building a new language. Not to improve, to understand. How do you forecast inventory? What's your churn? What happens when a supplier flakes? He listened. He really listened. I told by your real numbers, he admitted one night. She laughed until she wheezed. Said, about time you learned what money looks like when it don't come with a parking spot. I laughed for real. The kind that loosens ribs. She always did have a way. The worst part, he said, voice rough, is the rerun in my head. Every time I said you needed a real job, every time I bragged about Jade. It plays on loop. Change the channel, I told him. It's your remote. Jade's carefully curated grid began to crumble. The last photo in the luxury building got 57 comments and a DM storm. Then, nothing glossy. She posted throwbacks, repurposed old mirror selfies, pushed captions about quiet grinding. People noticed. They always do. Where you been? Someone asked under a recycled rooftop shot. Sis, you okay? Feels different. A former coworker, the one Jade used to flex on, slid in public. How's that regional director thing? When's the rollout? No emoji, no mercy. Jade deleted the comment, then locked her page. Silence settled like a sheet over furniture in a house that nobody visits anymore. Meanwhile, Daddy told the truth. Clumsy sometimes, but honest. He corrected himself at barbecues, at the barber, on folding chairs after church. I was wrong, he'd say, loud enough for everybody at the table to hear. Naomi runs a whole company. I didn't see it. I didn't want to. I'd pretend to busy myself with deviled eggs and feel my ribs ache with a relief I hadn't expected to get from anyone but me. I'm proud of you, he told me on a slow Tuesday, voice steady. Not for the money, though I ain't blind. For building something real while I wasn't watching. Those words weighed more than any wire transfer. Reality is a strict landlord. Within 6 months, it posted notice on Jade's door. She juggled as long as she could, sold the car back, kissed the luxury goodbye, made ramen creative. But the interest didn't blink. The cards closed in on her. She filed bankruptcy, the ink on her image finally drying to reveal the underpainting, a 26-year-old woman who built a life faster than her salary could carry. Friends who'd once invited her to things with dress codes and price-fixed menus stopped texting. Dates expected the woman from her grid. The one who arrived at the bistro wore clearance and a shake in her voice. The men who were real enough to be kind didn't match the fantasy she had been selling even to herself. Daddy swallowed his own lesson in public. Family members who had been fed the old story cocked their heads when he served the new one. I watched him stand in discomfort and not reach for a lie to warm himself. It looked a lot like growth. In my world, glow turned literal. EU orders tripled. A salon in Paris posted a video of a stylist using our debt angler and said, in French, that she'd never go back. I translated it twice and cried in my kitchen, the good kind, the little Naomi would be screaming kind. One evening, Daddy came by with a bag of takeout and a careful face. He looked around my office like he'd never seen a whiteboard before. He stood in front of the world map, where I track orders with pins, and shook his head, quiet. You did this in spite of me, he said. Not a question. In spite of what you believed. I corrected. I never stopped being your kid. We ate wings and talked warehousing. He asked about cash flow, then about loneliness. You ever get tired of being the only one in the room who knows how to do your job? Every day, I said. And never. It's mine. He nodded, something like respect passing through him like light through stained glass. Your mother would have danced around this whole apartment, he murmured, a memory pulling his mouth soft. She always knew what you were made of. Jade texted, the bubbles hesitant then spilling. Can I come by? I sent back a time. When she arrived, she stood in my doorway like she was entering court. Her face was mostly bare. The girl I grew up with peeked out from under the wreckage of the brand. I don't know how to start over, she said. Start where you are, I replied. It's the only place you can touch. Jade sank onto my couch, fingers crushing a tissue. I built a person online that I couldn't live as. People loved her. I loved her. She made me feel untouchable. She let out a breath that sounded like surrender. I hurt you to keep her alive. You hurt you, I said. I financed it. Her laugh hiccuped and died. I'm so damn sorry, Nay. Okay, I said. I didn't reach for cheap forgiveness. Some bridges need new steel, not paint. I've been thinking, she said, trying on humility like a stiff jacket. I'm good at styling. Clients ask for me. I could actually build something legit. Consults, closet edits, teaching people how to shop their budget. Not flexing. Serving. Now that's a story that can stand up to the weight, I said. But it won't be pretty every day. I don't need pretty, she said, finally sounding like somebody I could trust. I need solid. We sketched on a legal pad. Pricing. Packages. Boundaries. No fronting. Ever again. I refused to loan money. I offered introductions to people who like honest work and can spot a liar by the time the coat comes off. She breathed easier as the plan took shape. It wasn't redemption, but it was a road. My own revenge arrived quietly, wrapped in ordinary days that didn't require a soundtrack. I went for morning runs on the Beltline, sun turning brick to rose. I brewed coffee. I logged into dashboards where blue lines climbed like healthy vines. I wrote email copy that felt like talking to sisters at a beauty supply aisle. No fluff, just facts and love. I answered a line from a college kid who'd been told her major was cute. I told her to build something and send me the link. At church one Sunday, Sister Geraldine cornered Daddy near the bulletin board and said, "I heard your Naomi got herself a global business." He said, loud enough for the teenage boys to hear. She did. I underestimated her. Won't make that mistake again. Jade came too, sitting beside me, singing low. After service, a woman with silver braids asked Jade about closet edits for retirees on fixed incomes. Jade didn't sell a fantasy. She asked questions and took notes. Pride warmed the back of my neck, slow and wary. That afternoon, Daddy brought out old photo albums, pointing at our mother's handwriting beneath pictures. "She would have had words for me," he said, chuckling. "Good ones and the other kind." We laughed, and the room felt like it could hold us. There were still sharp edges. An aunt called to ask why I hadn't told the family sooner about my revenue. "Maybe I wanted to be a person first," I said. People conflate numbers with worth too easily. A blogger wrote a messy post speculating about Jade's fall, linking old photos, guessing at debts. I was tempted to drag her with receipts and IP law. Instead, I texted Jade, "Don't feed it." Jade posted a simple note to her private account. "Here's what's true. I spent money I didn't have to impress people who don't pay my bills. I'm paying the price. I am building something real now." Then she went back to work. Glow and Grit's Paris salon video went viral on a small corner of hair Twitter. Orders surged. A distributor in Lagos reached out. I watched a map of pins spill into places my grandmother only read about. I pressed my palm to the atlas, right over the ocean, and said thank you through a throat thick with the kind of gratitude that feels like grief's twin, the one that stayed. Daddy helped me carry boxes when a shipment arrived early. He didn't give advice. He hauled and asked where I wanted them. It was the best kind of help. On a late summer night, the three of us sat on Daddy's back steps, the cicadas doing their usual sermon. He passed a bowl of peach slices and let his knee touch mine like an apology you can feel. "I keep thinking about that night," he said. "The glass breaking. The way my head cracked open. Sometimes a thing gotta break," I said, "so the light can get in." He snorted. "You been reading corny quote pages again?" I grinned. "Maybe." He looked past us at the dark yard. I loved the idea of Jade because I could understand it. Titles. Blazers. A chain of command. It made sense to me. He shook his head. "You're a star I didn't have a chart for."
"I'm not a star," I said.
"I'm a worker." "You're both," he said, and for once I didn't argue. Jade leaned her head on my shoulder. "I'm gonna mess up again," she said quietly. "Not like before. But I will. I need you to tell me the truth when I can't see it." "I will," I said. "But I won't bankroll a lie." "Deal," she whispered. The cicadas swelled. Somewhere, a train sighed. The world kept going, which felt like a blessing I didn't know I needed. Months into the new rhythm, I set up a small scholarship in Mama's name for Black women chemists. It felt right to put money where my mouth lived. I announced it with a photo of Mama's recipe card handwriting, not my face. The applications rolled in, sharp minds and soft stories, and I wept at my desk, a tissue pile growing beside a calculator. Jade's calendar filled, closet edits, thrift strategies, tailoring consults. Her clients were teachers, nurses, a choir director, a teen headed to her first internship. She sent me pictures of cleaned-out closets and smiling faces, and I sent back heart emojis I used to save for long-distance almost loves. Daddy started a monthly learning dinner, his idea. He invited cousins, neighbors, a barber, a librarian, and me. We talked about money without shame. We said net and margin and interest out loud. We passed cornbread and humility. It was corny. It was holy. One night, as we were leaving, a neighbor clapped Daddy's shoulder. "You raised some good girls," he said. Daddy didn't flinch or deflect. "They raised me," he said. "Took me long enough to follow." He looked at me like the apology had finally found a home and decided to stay. This is not a story about humiliation as justice, though Lord knows the part of me that keeps receipts had a good night. It's a story about masks slipping and skin remembering itself. Revenge showed up, not with fireworks, but with quiet mornings where the truth had room to sit down and eat. Sometimes I replay the dinner, the moment my fingers canceled that transfer, the silence after. The old me wanted an audience for that triumph. The current me is satisfied with a bank balance that funds laboratories, payroll, and a future that smells like shea and ambition. Jade still flinches when a bill comes. She's learning. She sends me screenshots of 5-star reviews with too many exclamation points. I send her a thumbs up and a proud of you, and mean it. Daddy still introduces me wrong sometimes. She, runs and I say, accompany Daddy, and watch his chest swell. When the truth finally stepped into our house, it didn't shout. It clicked off a lamp, swept up glass, opened a window.
The air changed.
The sweetest part wasn't Jade falling. It was me standing. It was Daddy's voice learning my name from scratch. It was the quiet revenge of letting the truth outlive the lie. Thank you for watching. Please like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more stories like this.